This is not what Vikings fans want to hear as Kevin O'Connell drops multiple devastating injury updates ahead of a short week primetime showdown versus the Falcons, and JJ McCarthy continues to make headlines with a huge boost of confidence from a weekly award list. We're going to break down all that in this episode of Vikings Digest, but first, if you're a part of the 86% of viewers who aren't yet subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things Vikings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the episodes as they drop. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is devastating injury updates. So Kevin O'Connell gave a press conference today as was expected. He told us after the post game on Monday night that an injury update was going to be coming in his press conference in the middle of this week. And we got it, and it was not what you want to hear, as Blake Cashman and Ty Chandler will miss some time. We have a quote elaborating on that in a second. Jeff Okudah and Andrew Van Ginkel are in concussion protocol. He said that they are feeling good, but it's something that they will have to work through throughout the week. Harrison Smith and Christian Darrisaw continue to ramp up, which does bring a little bit of hope there as well for their return for week 2, which we absolutely need. And Xavier Scott and Elijah Williams will return to practice this week, ramping up from their injuries. No, Ty Chandler did have a knee injury that Kevin O'Connell said was the problem. He did play through the game, so he praised his toughness for that as well. But elaborating on the Blake Cashman and Ty Chandler injury, he said, "We're still working through what that looks like roster-wise. I do plan on both of them returning, but I don't have a real timetable as far as what that looks like from a standpoint of the next few weeks." We saw Blake Cashman leave the game and go into the blue tent with a hamstring injury, so that's going to be something very much worth monitoring because we see that hamstrings are a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with for football players where they can flare up throughout the season like out of nowhere. We saw that happen with Justin Jefferson and both times now on both different hamstrings, and we've seen it happen with Aaron Jones last season as well. He had a nagging hamstring injury basically all season. Didn't miss a single game, but it was still something that had him on the injury report every single week as questionable until the final practice of the week, it seemed like, when he turned in a full practice. So that's something that Minnesota is going to have to monitor with Blake Cashman, be very cautious with. And if this is the case scenario where we miss him for about 4 weeks, I would rather it happen earlier in the season rather than later when the games are really in crunch time and we need him most, especially when we have that huge stretch of road games coming up in the end of the season or in 3/4 of the way through the season, where we have a murderer's row of teams that we have to go through to get to back to the playoffs from last season. But when you look at the depth chart and what it kind of brings, at least with Blake Cashman being out, it brings a little bit of optimism with seeing how well Eric Wilson played on Monday night, getting that block punt, getting some really good tackles, getting in there and getting his hands dirty and trying to make a difference, especially when Chicago, they saw him get subbed in. They tried to pick on him and he was not having any of it. So he really turned in a great game. So even if Blake Cashman is going to miss some time, I do feel confident that Eric Wilson will be able to get it done. However, within this as well, Minnesota has an opportunity where if you are trusting in Dallas Turner, you're going to have to really put him in that spot, especially if Andrew Van Ginkel isn't ready to go. But if Van Ginkel is ready to go, something that I think would be very interesting for Minnesota to do here is you slot Van Ginkel in at the inside linebacker at the left side, and you put Dallas Turner at that outside linebacker spot with all the other guys as well, where you can have him with Ivan Pace and Eric Wilson maybe rotating in there with Van Ginkel. But if you put Dallas Turner in there as well with Jonathan Grenard on that outside, I think that would bring a little bit of opportunity where Minnesota could trust in their starters maybe a little bit more than their second string guys. But Eric Wilson, he was able to be that next man up. So if he comes in and can wear the green dot this week, that'll be a huge boost for him going forward and for this team to show that, hey, we don't have to just rotate guys and have them play their normal not their normal positions just because of an injury. We can trust in our second string guys that they can come in, even if it's wearing the green dot and filling in for that perfectly and doing their job. Eric Wilson was able to do that, but if Van Ginkel is able to go through that concussion protocol and is ready to go, I think that's something worth exploring where maybe on a couple of plays you rotate Van Ginkel out, put Dallas Turner in, and you put Van Ginkel at that spot where Blake Cashman would be. That kind of might bring some little opportunities here where you're making sure that you have your top talent at least on the field at all times and not have to put in a guy that maybe isn't as talented but is still really good at his position. So that could be something worth checking out for Minnesota. Not to say that they're going to do that. They probably will go the route of giving Eric Wilson the green dot once again in the start for the next couple of weeks, but that could be something that Brian Flores might try to do here and there as the season goes on if it doesn't work with Eric Wilson right out the gate against Atlanta in week 2. But overall, I think it is something that is not, obviously we don't want to see injuries, especially when we had the injuries that we had in the preseason. Just this happening in week 1 against a tough divisional game. It was on the road, which was really good for us to get a win like that. But it was a game that really kind of took a toll on our team. And when you look at the offensive line too, if we do have Darrisaw this week, obviously that's great. If you saw our video yesterday, we talked about the idea of maybe putting Joe Huber in at Donovan Jackson's spot and putting Donovan Jackson in left tackle for Christian Darrisaw, because Justin School didn't really have a great game and Joe Huber was really impressive out of training camp in the preseason. So Kirk and I were saying yesterday how we really like the idea. You put Huber in at guard, you put Donovan Jackson in at tackle if Darrisaw isn't ready to go, and you roll with that through the next couple of games or until Darrisaw is ready to go. And then we resume our regularly scheduled programming on the offensive line. But what did you guys think of these injury updates and how devastating were they in your opinion? Let us know down in the comments below. That's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is some good news of the day. And that was JJ McCarthy for NFC Offensive Player of the Week, coming off of the game that he had. I know it was not a great first half. It was a really ugly first half and first 3 quarters for him, but he really kind of turned it around and really shifted the gears and got this team into the win column with a phenomenal performance in that fourth quarter. And with this, he is the 11th Viking since 1984 to win NFC Player of the Week honors in week 1 and is just the 3rd Vikings quarterback behind Dante Culpepper, which was one of my favorite players to watch as a kid, and Sam Bradford in 24 and 2017. And he is the 2nd Viking to win the honor following their NFL debut in week 1, and that was Blair Walsh in 2012. Hopefully, JJ McCarthy's long-term career is a lot better than Blair Walsh's was, and he's able to just continue this going. So this was obviously really great for JJ McCarthy. He's joining some really good company there with Dante Culpepper and Blair Walsh. Before he flared out, he was a really great kicker for us. But we really got to kind of just pump the brakes here for a second here. I know we're really excited about the JJ McCarthy win. I was singing his praises for the past couple of days, but we got to say, hey, that was just the first game. We just got to continue it rolling and not get too caught up in that one game and really just blow smoke up his ass and just praise him as the best quarterback in the league, because he still has a long way to go for that and we still have to see more of it. But this is still a very great first step in the right direction, much better than if he had started on a loss. So it's really exciting to see what this kid can bring. And like Stephen A. Smith said on his show, if JJ McCarthy is able to do everything that we have seen so far and just get better, and this is just the floor of everything, and he just gets better and better and better from here, watch out for the Minnesota Vikings, because they will have a lethal quarterback on their hands. And hopefully that's what we got here. Well, let us know what you guys thought about all the things happening with the offensive line. Do you think that's an adjustment that you guys would personally make if you would rotate them in and out? And what did you think about JJ McCarthy joining these guys in the NFC Player of the Week honors, especially in week 1, making that impact? I know Sam Bradford, that was a really good 5-game run that we had with him in 2017, where we started the season 5-0 and Bradford was being looked at like an MVP candidate. And then the wheels kind of fell off and we finished 3-8 throughout the rest of the year. So that was really bad. We finished 8-8 that year. That was one of the most devastating seasons as a Viking, because we brought Sam Bradford in as an emergency quarterback and we were like, okay, first 5 weeks, we're riding high. This might be it. We might have found our guy somehow. This is the Sam Bradford that we've wanted to see all these years in St. Louis and then all the way into Philly and things like that. And then the wheels fell off. We finished the year 3-8 after that. And that is probably why Minnesota did not want to roll with Sam Darnold this season and trusted in JJ McCarthy out of college, because they knew that this is the guy they brought in for a reason. They had him learn for a whole season, and they saw with Sam Darnold, let's not repeat what happened with Sam Bradford years ago. Even though different management group with Spielman and Zimmer and all that, it still is a part of Minnesota Vikings history that Kwesi and KOC did not want to repeat. But let us know what you guys thought about JJ McCarthy and everything in between down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.